Hi, everyone. Welcome to 30 Plays in 30 Days, a live arts retrospective. Um, I'm excited to get started with you all tonight. My name is Annie Temminck, and I am the Interim Technical Director at Live Arts. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope that this is a kickoff to your Cinco de Mayo celebrations or your National Teacher Day festivities. Hope you're in the mood for celebrating. Tonight, we're celebrating by talking about the 1994 to 1995 live arts season. And in a moment, I will be joined by Savitri D and our wily actors. But first, I want to take a second to give a shout out to our community partner, Tavola. They are some really sweet people. They've got a really beautiful restaurant, and right now they are offering online wine delivery. So if you like wine and you like convenience, you might be able to pick up something nice for yourself while supporting some great folks. Also want to announce that as of 5 p.m. today, we have raised $2,965 towards our Giving Tuesday Now campaign, which is amazing. So thank you. And even more amazing, the total to date, we have closed the income gap by $65,000. And I just want to give a special thanks to everyone who has contributed, because I know that so many of us are in a situation of not knowing what our income will look like. And the fact that so many folks are giving anyway is just a tribute to the incredible generosity of our community. So thank you so much. Shelby is also standing by. So if you feel like helping us close our 30% income gap, she will be available to help you over the phone, or you can go to livearts.org/donate. So thank you all. I think tonight's going to be a lot of fun. So now Savitri will be joining us, and we'll have a little interview. Hi, Savitri.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, thanks.
Good. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm really excited to chat with you more today. So Savitri is an artist and activist and the director of the Reverend Billy and the Church of Stop Shopping up in Brooklyn, New York. And you also were at Live Arts for a little while. Could you tell me how you got involved with live arts and performance art in general?
Sure. I did work at Live Arts when I was pretty much fresh out of college, and I had returned to Charlottesville where my family lived. And, you know, I just fell in with a group of artists, and I was trying to act a little bit, and I was in a play, and then this came to that. And then I know Fran Sackett, I guess she's Fran Smith now. I think she was initially the person who brought me into Live Arts, but then it just became this really welcoming and amazing community that offered me incredible resources. So, you know, I was maybe 22, 23, and suddenly, you know, I had a theater to work in and actors to work with and all these production resources. So it was really, yeah, an amazing opportunity for me as a young artist.
Awesome. And I think you said that you started in dance, but you also wrote the play that we will be seeing a snippet of tonight. So what was your creative process like that and in that environment at that time?
Right. Well, I was trained as a dancer and an actor primarily, and then I just got really into performance. And I was feeling frustrated, I guess, with the lack of roles for women, or lack of roles that felt reflective of my life, the life of my peers around me. So I started writing largely just because I wanted to perform something a little bit truer and closer to what my experience of life was. And because so many plays were written by men, I guess, largely, and they just didn't seem interesting to me, to be honest. I mean, they seemed like great, okay, they're good, but they didn't seem like something I wanted to eat or chew on or get into. So I started writing plays for that reason. And then, you know, I had a lot of preoccupations as a maker of theater, you know, around storytelling and semiotics and symbolism and how we use those things on the stage and off, and with our bodies or not, and with language. And I think I was really just stretching and growing as an artist a lot around this time. When I wrote Walk, I was very preoccupied with kind of hard to explain, but sort of the negative space of storytelling, like the through line being a very negative, empty space, and that how that communicates to the audience in a different way than a very linear kind of antagonist, protagonist, you know, conflicts type of story.
Absolutely. Well, I'm really excited to hear more about that specifically, and also about the work that you're doing now. But let's kind of take a walk through some of the pieces that were going on when you were here,
Sure.
and we can kind of walk through that. So this is again 1994 to 1995. I think I was 5 years old, 4 or 5.
I was only 12 at the time, but no, I'm just kidding. Right.
Yeah, so we've got Off the Wall, which I think you were the performance coordinator, and this was, tell us a little bit about what this was.
So these are like showcase performances essentially, right? And I think you'll see a lot of really amazing musicians here. Tim Reynolds, Art Wheeler, Terry Allard. I mean, these are people who have gone on to Corey Harris. I mean, these are, you know, well-known musicians around the world now. It's just really showcase performing. I mean, I think Live Arts in its early days did a lot more music and a lot more sort of dance and raves and all kinds of live art, not just theater.
Definitely.
Yeah, similarly, this is a coffee house. These were like also cabaret theaters, and I think a really good way to start building a rep company around a theater, you know, like trying to figure out who can do what. Dave Matthews was in early coffee house performances.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, it's nice having these short snippet style pieces.
And there's Michael Parent, who was like an early founder of Live Arts.
This one was directed by Fran Smith as well. And I love the sort of sod set in the background.
Yeah, fantastic.
Also, these overalls, super great.
Yeah. Right, so, there's Cindy Burke, wonderful actor.
Yep.
Yeah, great actor. Cindy Burke, also a wonderful painter, as I'm sure most of you know.
The director
really
was Gordon.
Funny. She was so funny. She really could pull off a joke. Yeah, I mean, this is great. This is like really straight theater in a way, right? It's like, it's just, ooh, there's Steve. Steve Tharp, leading man of Charlottesville. More short plays there.
Yeah, that's something I really noticed, because that seems, we still do a few of these sort of short series kind of productions, but it seemed like there were so many of them in this year.
It's just so creative. It's like so many people get to work, so many people get to try things. It's a great way to sort of experiment and play with the form and push against things. And yeah, again, like not have to carry a whole show. And Lacage, of course. Again, I would just say this is amazing. This is going on in these early 90s in Charlottesville, which, you know, we can't believe it now, but even at that time, it was hard to be this gay in a public way, right? Charlottesville was always like a beacon for LGBTQ people in the, you know, Central Virginia area. I mean, I'm not saying everyone in the play is gay, but just to like present this, you know, Virginia, you know, was still, I would say, quite conservative around sexuality then. Probably still is a bit.
And that's something I wouldn't have noticed if you hadn't pointed it out, because it does seem so normal now. I think it's really interesting to look at things that were pretty provocative and revolutionary at the moment. But also these photos are so great.
Yeah, really great. Right, the playoffs. So the playoffs were like a competition, I think, that it was like a poetry slam sort of thing where people brought short work and then the audience was asked to vote, I think, or like, I don't think it was applause. I think oh, there's me. That was a play I did called One Red Dress, or a wet red dress. Oh yeah, that dress I'm wearing is soaking wet. This was cool. It had a lot of technology in it, that show. There's Cindy Burke again. Right, so Road Songs was a play I wrote. I'd been traveling a lot. I left home when I was just barely 16. You know, I'd lived many places by the time I returned to Charlottesville, and Road was a play I wrote about some of those stories and some of those people I met, and also much of it was imagined. I mean, it was almost all imagined. It wasn't true, but it was a play, I think, about placelessness, about finding a place, about looking for home, and, you know, obviously a 22-year-old person's preoccupations are these ones: where to be, what to be. And then here, Walk, a play I wrote again with this idea around negative space and negative storytelling. this very closed-in set built out of pallets. It was all recycled. Built that set with Mark Schuyler and Catherine D, Will Kerner, Mark Schuyler, who did all this lighting. It was so beautiful. And he was just such a mentor to me for the stage. He just knew so much. He'd worked up here on, you know, with Robert Wilson and other great theater artists. And he just, wow, he really took the time and taught me a lot about drama on the stage with lights. And he was a real believer in that, the lighting driving the drama. But this play was like you know, all the characters are told in pieces around the story. And then by the end, you have a sense of this story, but it's many small set pieces that build into one long story.
Mm-hmm. That's lovely. Thank you for sharing those details. So what state are you in now? Obviously you're doing many different things and you're in New York, and how is your work sort of turning now?
Well, you know, I have largely left the theater as like a theater artist. You know, I still use performance as part of a larger toolkit, I guess I would say. I'm mostly an activist now, consider myself an activist. I direct a large performance community here called the Church of Stop Shopping. It's about 50 people, but our goals are not aesthetic necessarily. They're activist. So, you know, we resist consumption, we resist militarism, we resist the monoculture in the broadest sense. And that includes a lot of smaller things, or they're none of them small, but there are many facets within that. But, you know, Live Arts was an amazing time for me because, and not just Live Arts, but also the Zen Monkey Project and basically Charlottesville in general. In those few years I was there before I moved to New York, of just intense artistic foment, you know, and a lot of support and a lot of resources and, you know, full-length shows and month-long runs. And it was just an amazing time to be so young and have that and be able to work those things out. And when I came to New York, I was pretty sure on some level of what I was doing as an artist. And I swiftly realized that the thing that was always missing for me in the theater, I probably would never find in the theater. And so I pretty much walked away from it. Though, as I said, I've always used the tools and the skills and the techniques and even tactics of theater in my later work.
Lovely. Before we get into the play, I just have one last question. I'm curious if there's anything that you would take from this time. I know you had mentioned earlier a sort of sadness of if things go back to the way they are after, or the way they used to be after the moment we're in now. Is there one thing that you would want to take with you?
Well, it's very intense here in New York. You know, there's 20,000 dead souls flying around us now. And it's very intense here. And I would say challenging for all of us. And it's very beautiful this spring. It's the most beautiful spring any of us remember. So that's confusing. But I suppose what I would take forward is just the knowledge that we can change. You know, we've been telling our kids, oh, we can't change until 2050. We've been saying, oh, we can't do any of that. We're doing it now. And I guess I would say, let's not delay anymore. Let's change. Let's not go back to the economy we had, and let's be way more local, way more regional. And above all, I would say that the community that you find, the community you make in times like this is the community you can work with, and you should work with one, because that is ultimately what makes all of us resilient and strong, is that we are in a network of people. And that network will not come to you from a corporation or the government, sadly. It comes from the people around you. So I would just encourage people to gather with others and do things. And that sometimes means making art together and being collaborators like we were and you are at Live Arts. But it also means like changing the world together. We can do that.
Thank you.
Sure.
So we will get into the play now. We have just a short snippet to share with you. Is there any quick kind of context you'd like to give the audience to set them up for this play?
Yeah, I mean, sure. So there are many scenes that have already happened by the time you come into this scene, of different characters with different voices and different relationships. So this is at the very heart of the play, this scene that you'll hear read now by
Yep, we've
being
got
in.
Virginia Warner and Johnny Butcher who are playing our actors, and Corinne Johnson will be reading the stage directions. So are you all ready?
Yep.
Awesome. Take it away.
One bed and one refrigerator and an extremely compressed 3-wall room. The actors may not leave the stage. Enough shoes to go around, of varying shapes, styles, and colors, are placed around the stage. Some of the shoes contain bits of things, gravel, glitter, grass, so that by the end of the text, the floor of the stage is littered. Scene and character changes are marked by the man and woman changing their shoes. Scene 8, Jack, Helen. Man and woman begin in very, very close proximity on the bed. Through a course of piece, they circle the bed. One of them is always sitting on the bed. Sometimes he is following her, and sometimes he is followed by her. Their physical relationship is both confrontational and evasive.
Fastest 10 minutes of my life.
What do you mean?
I've been in fights before, but Frank,
He's your brother.
he was so fast. Listen, imagine a regular cowboy fight sped up and sped up. I don't know why it was so fast.
It's just like that first time we were together in the backseat of Frank's Mercury. I remember it took you an hour to get my clothes off, but once you were there, Lord, it was a blur. I mean, it was half near over before I even noticed it. Well, it's the same with you and Frank. Only the two of you already have your clothes off.
It felt good. I never would have thought I'd say it felt good to get my ass kicked by a little brother, but it did. I thanked him. When we were done down by the barn, I said, Frank, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm a changed man. Of course, he didn't say much, not much at all. And I felt so alive, Helen. Everything mattered so much. And it killed something. The rest of my life just seems, the rest of my life.
Darling, when it's that close, that door, you can't handle it. Remember in the backseat of Frank's Mercury? When you got down where the truth is? Lord, it was all over. Thing is, with your brother, the two of you already had all your clothes off.
Just seems
Seems like you're just going through the motions.
right, like that.
Yeah. Do you think you'll feel alive like that again? Anytime soon?
I wonder.
Me too.
It's a shame.
Ain't it?
Hmm?
What started it? It was the day he came home from fighting with Frank. And I looked at him and realized he was like a man without a tire iron, standing out there on the highway in the wind. And everybody else just rushing by, having already made up their mind where they're going. But he said it, how he was going through the motions. He said that. This morning I stared out at the window, women coming and going to their appointments at the beauty. Something had really changed. And it's not the new hair, the perm, or the nails. It's something else. They are really different.
It felt good. I never would I'd say it felt good to get my ass kicked by my little brother, but it did. I thanked him. When we were done down at the barn, I said, Frank, thank you. Thank you very much. I am a changed man. Of course, he didn't say much, not much at all. And I felt so alive, Helen. Everything mattered so much. And it killed something. The rest of my life just seems...
Jack,
What?
guess what?
What?
I went down there to the beauty shop. A woman sat me down in a big green swivel chair and she asked me, what do you want? I just shrugged. And she played with my hair and smiled, and all of a sudden I stood up and walked out. That's it. That's it. Some women must go in there and say, I want 2 inches off the back. Not me. I don't know what I want. Worse, I don't want anything, and I should. I know I should want something. Guess what?
What?
I got a new bathing suit.
Yeah?
Yeah.
She's just not around anymore. Ever since the day Frank and I fought down by the barn, it's been, and I'm just waiting for something to happen. You ever seen those pictures of tidal waves where the water is sucking back before it actually crashes? That's how it feels. Like there's a hot wind blowing something somewhere else, using up all the air. And I'm holding my breath.
Guess what?
What?
I got a new bathing suit.
Yeah?
Yeah, and I shaved my legs.
You know, there's this disease where you stop breathing until you pass out. There's these little girls, twins I know that have it. They turn all purple while you watch, and then all of a sudden they just pass out, take this huge gasp of air and cry. I asked this doctor friend, I said, how long do you have to hold your breath before you pass out? And she said, it depends on your capacity. Well, it sure does.
What started it? It was the day he came home from fighting with Frank. And I looked at him and realized he was, I don't know, he was a man without a tire iron, standing out there on the highway in the wind and everybody else just rushing by, having already made up their mind where they're going. He said it, how he was going through the motions. He said that. Jack,
What?
guess what?
What?
I got a new bathing suit.
Yeah?
Yeah, and I shaved my legs.
You gonna tell me who it is?
It's your brother, Frank.
My one and only brother, Frank.
Mm-hmm. Bye.
Oh, I said. I waved, took a deep breath, and I stood up, fast, crazy, violent, as if that single act of standing up could alter the entire course of my life, even the past. It felt like that day Frank kicked my ass down at the barn. A lie.
Sometimes I just wonder, there are people and you can't even touch them. I wonder how they feel in the fall when all the leaves change color and drop from the trees. I wonder how that makes them feel, as if time had passed. Hi,
What are you doing here?
I don't know.
How come you never answer the phone?
I don't know.
Want a drink?
Mm-hmm.
What?
Doesn't matter, I don't care.
You look different.
Yeah?
I don't know, but did you cut your hair?
Jack,
What?
do you think we could talk for a few minutes? I mean, do you have time? Do you have somewhere you need to be?
No. What? Well, yeah, actually, but it's
Where?
fine.
Where do you need to be?
Party.
Do you want to call?
No. It's fine.
I want to tell you something.
What?
Messed up. I messed up. Messed up.
What is it?
Jack, can you change?
I already did.
No, is it possible to change?
Yeah.
Do you think other people can change you?
Yes.
Well, what
I
do you
do.
do then?
What do you mean?
When someone changes you, can you change back?
Helen, woman, just say what you
Do you
mean.
remember when I told you about Mr. Earl's music store?
Mm, No, I don't think so.
Didn't I? Well, my dad and I used to go into this place when I was a kid, a music store, Mr. Earl's. And there was this violin hanging behind the desk, and I always stared at it. Oh, I loved it. I always thought, if only I could play that violin, if only I had a chance. Say I could have picked it up and say I knew somehow exactly what to do with it. And say I lifted my bow and right there in the redwood light in Mr. Earl's music store, I played a song so beautiful that every starling in the sky began to weep perfect starling tears. Until the whole world thought it was raining.
rain.
It
Yeah,
is
I
not
remember that
funny,
part.
Jack.
Helen,
All my life. If only, if only, if only. I always lived for these if only things. If only, and it's always too late. But I came to tell you I'm sorry for bad things I did before it's too late.
no, it's all right. I actually wanted to thank you.
Thank me?
Thank you.
No, don't thank me.
That's Helen. It's okay.
It is not.
How's Frank?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
We don't talk.
What do you mean? You're fighting?
No, we don't talk.
Why?
He says we don't have to. He says we already know each other.
What do you say?
Not much.
Did you ever talk?
Not really. No, even then, even when I lived here and I wanted something to I was eating lunch with baby and I was wanting something to
I remember.
let me finish. I had my back to the door and I was waiting for something to happen. Every time the door opened, I turned to look. I mean, I really wanted something to happen. Food came, nothing. Cigarette, nothing. Coffee, nothing. Dessert, nothing. I gave up. I walked outside, said goodbye to baby, and I was walking to my car, our car, and I saw Frank. He was looking down into this puddle, and I went and I snuck up on his reflection in the puddle. He didn't look up at me, but he looked right at me in that puddle. And he got me. He really got me, and
Oh, don't. Please.
let me finish. And we went and got in his car and we went to the barn and we made love, and then he took his house key off the thing, that little thing. What's it called again? Well, he took it off his fob and he gave it to me.
Great. Is that it?
When I'm with him, I go away. I don't know anything. I forget who I am. And
Listen, I really don't need to hear this.
I always wanted to ask those astronauts, those ones who went to the moon, what's it like to be back on Earth? Are you better for it? Are you glad you're back? Are you back? Can you ever come back once you go that far? Can you come back, Jack?
You're lost. That's why you look different. Been lost.
Jack.
Oh, just so backwards. All of it. The way things go.
I wanted to ask you,
No.
I just wonder how sometimes changing your mind makes you strong and other times it makes you weak. Or is it refusing to change your mind that makes you weak? I'm all in between all of a sudden.
I have to go.
What'll it be? What'll it be?
Can you sing me that song?
What song?
The one?
Away, away, a crow in a ring. Sometimes away, a crow in a ring. Sad, sad crow. Wash away water, wash away sorrow. Away, away, sometimes away. Sometimes away, a crow and a ring. What is it?
It's just knowing you're out there, I guess.
Interrupted by a gleeful holler from woman who stands up and dances. This is a quick, sure-footed number, a loose tap dance. She turns and sees him. Silence, stillness, and a slow fade on lights. End scene.
Yay. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Virginia, Johnny, and Corinne for reading that for us. That was really lovely. And Savitri, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing your insights. It was really lovely to talk to you. For everyone who joined us, thank you so much for your presence. It means so much to us. It's a delight to be able to bring this to you, and I hope that you enjoyed. If you feel moved to do so, we always appreciate your support in forging theater in the future. So please be sure to join us tomorrow evening. We will be talking about the next season from 1995 to 1996 with Kay Ferguson, and we look forward to seeing you then. Thanks so much.
Bye, thanks.